you, before, but not a whole lot. I mean, not many of you have. You all know there was a Fix the Void bill that my friend Kathy Willis from Chicago introduced. It did pass the House. You're probably going to cover this as well.
It's an outlandish bill.
Really stupid bill. Obviously I voted against it, and it did fail in the Senate. Rochelle, Senator Crowe will probably tell you how that came about, but I did see Representative Willis in the back chambers going, but I really want this to pass. I really want this to pass. It's like, yeah, but nobody else does. So we stopped that. It'll come back up. I'm sure it will, but we'll try to knock it down again. I did have a bill that was signed into law that did 5 things, basically. Extends the life of the renewed concealed carry licenses, and I'll get into that in a minute, by setting the new expiration date 5 years from the expiration date of the previous license, as opposed to 5 years from the renewal application date. Senator Crowe, come on up. And there's front seat for Brent as well.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Senator Crowe has one of my favorite little people, Bryn, with her daughter. You'll probably see her carrying a gun as soon as she is legally able to. That bill exempted the World Shooting Sports Complex at Sparta from the restrictive firearm dealer licensing requirements, and we were really, really iffy on that. I mean, as far as I was begging, come on in, begging the governor to sign this bill. I knew he was going to, but we were trying to tell these dealers, don't worry about it, you don't have to pay the $1,000, was it?
Well, it depends on which one. You got $1,500.
$1,500. So, it kept some of the dealers from coming into Sparta because they didn't want to spend that money. We ended up, he signed it before the Grand Nationals. So, hopefully we had enough gun dealers down there. I didn't make it down there this year. It clarifies that qualified current and retired law enforcement members in Illinois are exempt from concealed carry restrictions under federal law. It also allows off-duty law enforcement members to carry a concealed firearm while hunting. That does not include correctional officers, and we tried to get that in, but we couldn't get that going. It also allows military members to apply for a FOID or concealed carry license at the age of 18, rather than requiring the permission of a parent or guardian. If they've served in the military, they ought to be able to get their FOID or concealed carry without mama's permission. We have had many FOID and concealed carry calls to the office, and we have a form here, and I think Scott has got these at the front desk. How many? 140 some odd, I think in my district alone, that have been delayed. So we've got a form here, and it gives very specific instructions on a number for you to call, but on the front of the form is the information you need to have when you make that call or when they call you back. They're telling me that it's a shortage of employees. I think the Fix the Void, when it went into effect, everybody was trying to renew, and it really just bottlenecked at the state police's area. So don't give up. They're working on it. At one point in time, it was helping if you called your state legislator, but then we've called, like I said, we've got 143 outstanding. I don't know how many you have, but probably quite a few. They kind of didn't give us the priority that we had been getting when we just had a few calls. So, Senator, would you like to speak to them? I told them that Tom was coming as well, and then Richard Pearson from Illinois State Private Association called.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Nice to see you all. I'm Rochelle Crowe. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm a fairly new senator. I just finished my first session and survived it. My background is I'm a violent crimes prosecutor here in Madison County for about 13 years. I was a certified gang prosecutor. Most of what I prosecuted was gun violence and murder. So I know firsthand and very well that it's not our lawful gun owners that are the problem, and that's the message that we need to make sure that the rest of our legislators know. In the Senate, I was placed on the Judiciary Committee. I'm actually the vice chair of the Judiciary, That is where most of our gun bills go through on the Senate side, with occasional exceptions. This past session, we were fairly successful at taking every gun bill and sticking it in a subcommittee in Judiciary, and it just stayed there. As you all saw, nothing really happened. The one thing I do want to share with you all tonight is that I think we're going to see something happen, and possibly even in veto session. I spoke, and this is news to Monica as well. I had a phone conversation this morning about it, and there's a strong push for what keeps getting called common sense gun bills. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. The first question I asked is this going to have fingerprinting in it? And I was told no. So, you know, I don't really know what we're looking at yet. What I would like you all to do and to take away from tonight is we're only in session for 2 weeks during veto. It's the last week in October, we're off a week, and then the next week in November. That's the only amount of time that these things can happen in. So if you all stay vigilant, watch the bills, see what's going on, and when those things are coming up, be active. You know, it's really easy to get online and file a witness slip now and put your opinion out there that you oppose whatever it is. I think there's a lot of pressure in Chicagoland to get something passed, so I think it's likely that we may actually see something come up for a vote. The way that happens sometimes, if it doesn't go through the normal channels like Judiciary, where we may not vote it out to the floor, is that it could go through the Executive Committee, where the President has control directly over what happens to it. In that case, things move real quick, and then all of a sudden it's on the floor, and we're all set to vote. So I would ask that you all, you know, definitely remain vigilant watching those bills as they are hitting the Senate this fall. And I'm happy to take any questions on any of those. I still don't see Tom, do you?
No, but we'll let Richard talk. But
Okay.
I just wanted to say, too, that I have been assigned to the Gun Violence Task Force in the House. There are 12 Republicans and 12 Democrats. 12 Republicans are all pro-gun, one on the Democrat side that's pro-gun. So we have a majority. Now, I don't know what that's going to mean, but I will fight. I will fight for you. And our first meeting is tomorrow at noon in Chicago. I'm going to listen by phone, but it's a bunch of probably anti-gun panelists that we're going to be listening to. So.
And what I would say about the Senate side of it is, you know, of course, traditionally we think of most of our pro-gun people as being Republican, but there's a whole group of us. We're downstate Democrats, and we look at it very differently. We all grew up with guns. So there is a whole group of us. We work together as a group, and the leadership in the Senate knows that. So that's why I got that phone call this morning. Something's going to be probably coming. We will work with your group, you know. So hopefully we have enough of people like you out there speaking out, and in other parts of the state too, that if something is going to pass, that it's not anything that truly impairs our rights.
We both have had conversations with the governor. The governor told me personally that anything gun-related is not on his agenda. Doesn't mean he would sign it if it got to him, but none of that was on his agenda. He had other things he was dealing with, which, I mean, he basically begged him, like, you're killing us with this minimum wage and this and that and the other thing. Please don't do the gun stuff too. So, like I said, it's not on his priority list. So, Richard, want to start?
Sure.
I'm Richard Pearson with the Illinois State Rifle Association. I'm Executive Director. This is Bill Potts, one of our lobbyists. We are watching what's going on in Springfield, and we have been told that the SB 1966 will be pushed in veto session. And so we have been pushing back. We've had meetings all over the state with legislators like Senator Crowe, for example, and downstate, upstate doesn't mean downstate. For example, you could be in Rockford and be downstate, upstate. So, is that clear? So, anyway, so we're talking about the non-Chicago Democrats, and so we have been working with all of them, And we have a good chance of defeating SB 1966, but you can't ever go to sleep. One eye always has to be open. Bill's been carrying most of that load, but what happened with 1966, it was passed as a bail bond bill, and then in the Senate, and it went to the House. The language is stripped out of it. They put the 1966 language in it, so if you look at it on the state website, it still says bail bond bill, but all the guts are different. Okay, so.
Can you tell us what that is in a nutshell?
We got a sheet we're having.
Okay.
That's it. But in a nutshell, it requires fingerprinting, okay, which is your expense. It requires background checks, which can be your expense. It requires, if there's a problem with your background check, you may get billed extra stuff. And reduces the FOIs to 5 years. They reduce the cost to 20, but the $20 cost is always a problem. But the bigger problem is all the expenses that go with it. The other thing it requires is you can't transfer a firearm privately. So you have to go to a firearm dealer. So this is kind of a backdoor registration scheme is what this really is. So when that bill came back then, it had already passed the House, so it was modified in the Senate, and it did not pass. But it was held over to veto session, so we expect to see the first glimpse of this thing the Tuesday of veto.
29th, I guess.
29.
Yeah, 29. So that is the day we have a mini iGold up there.
Oh.
So we're going to have a mini iGold. When you saw mini, cost a lot of dough to put on iGold. So we have rented the Holla building auditorium, which holds 562 people, whoever want to count the seats. And so we're going to try to keep it at that, but we're going to go then and lobby our senators. Okay, so we're going to go see Senator Crowe, all the people that we've talked to, and see those people. And we have people coming in from all of those districts to talk to those folks. And Bill's kind of in charge of all that. But so we've talked to them before. We've made, how many meetings have we had, Bill? 12. So we had 12 meetings. We got a couple more to go. But so we're trying to secure this bill. And so it just takes, when it comes back to the Senate like that, only takes 30 votes. That's all it takes. So there's only 59 there, so you're running pretty close all the time. But we'll tell you that we've already started, if the bill does pass. We want to spend the public money wisely, so we have already preparing a lawsuit should it pass. Just so you know, and so we've been working on that actually since April. So we don't take any chances. So we are noted for fighting, and we're fighting in the courts. Some of the stuff that passes, we'll go after. We have a Culp versus Raul, which Kwame Raul is the Attorney General, so his name gets on all the lawsuits. He's just such a lucky guy. And so what that is, we're fighting for non-residents. Well, we can't get reciprocity, but until we get non-residents who can get a FOIA card, it's impossible the way it is now. So that's that one. We have the Deerfield. We've defeated Deerfield 3 times in the courts. We got to go back again. And so the Deerfield is an assault weapons magazine ban, and so we'll be dealing with that. We also have Wilson versus Cook County, which is assault weapons magazine ban, and we've asked for a petition of cert. That means that we're appealing it to the Supreme Court. So we're going to join up with the New York case, which deals with having firearms in and outside the home, be able to transport firearms, and the California case, which is another assault weapons ban. So we're all headed toward the Supreme Court. Now, these cases may get amalgamated into one case. Who knows what will happen to it? For example, we've defeated Deerfield 3 times. 3 times they've changed the case and come back. So we got our attorneys right now, exactly right now, are drawing up dismissal papers saying, you know, you've been here 3 times, you got defeated 3 times, go home. Okay.
Richard, it's long as it's being fought, is the law still enforceable?
Well,
Or is
they
it
haven't
kind of
been
on hold?
enforcing it, because if it becomes this will become a civil rights case. It's called a 1983 case. That means that whoever loses gets to pay both ends of the bill. So, for example, if Deerfield were to lose, we took McDonald's to the Supreme Court, it cost us about $600,000. So that bill gets to go back to Deerfield. Right, Jared. So that's why we do these cases. These are civil rights cases. There's another case that we're looking for. It's called the deprivation of rights under the color of law. That deals with governments who are purposely trying to take your rights. And so that's the next place we're probably going to go with this. And so if that happens, the penalties on that go beyond mere money. They become prison terms. In fact, in certain cases, you get the death penalty for it, so be careful. But these two are great, you know. All we need is 118 legislators on the House and 59 in the Senate, just like these two. Then we can all go rest in peace, but that's not going to happen. So anyway, so we're always there fighting these things and trying to get people together. When we get to the Holland Building, for example, everybody will get a special lanyard, a special card that says iGold. So everybody will be identified as iGold people. That becomes very important because you see us everywhere. Okay, and so it becomes something of a show. But they need to know that the gun owners out here are unhappy, and they're going to be unhappy at the ballot box. And so we'll be doing everything again. The ISRA is a non-partisan organization. If you have 100% voting records, fight for us, like these two ladies, we're with you. If you are not with us, we're not with you. And so one of the best examples is a fellow by the name of Olson. Remember Olson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Olson was a Republican who turned on us, so we liquidated him. And then we liquidated him again when he tried to run as mayor in Downers Grove or wherever it was. And so when you make us mad, we never forget you and never forget where you are. We will keep an eye on you forever. So you know, vengeance is mine,
I'm not
Richard.
scared. I'm not scared. Y'all would.
I know, but so he can't run for anything. Last time I saw him, he was a lobbyist, right, when he became a lobbyist. So we have all these things going on. So we organize groups at the grassroots level. We bring them to Springfield. And Bill, you might want to elaborate on that. I know you two guys have had a visit from us, So Bill, you want to describe that?
I spoke at the iGold
So,
rally.
Senator Crowe mentioned that there's 12 downstate, from the Senate, there's 10 or 12 downstate Democratic senators in the downstate caucus. The downstate caucus is not all below I-80, there's not geographical lines. As far north as one of the Democratic senators that is pro-Second Amendment lives in Rockford. So, right after session ended on June 1st, I went out, and what we did was, I took members that live in the district. I didn't start in Rockford, but I covered Rockford. I took members in, because the question I had for everyone, and I can ask you, everyone here this, and this one should be easy, it's like, how many of you know who your legislators are? Raise your hand. So my next question is, how many of you, if I ask your legislators who you are, how many of them know you? So that's how it works. So now all of a sudden, we've asked you to make phone calls or stop by their office, but they don't know you. But if during the summer months, if I make an appointment, set up a meeting, show up, and ask you to come with me in your legislative district, will you come with me? And most of the time, I could fill a room. We were just down in Edwardsville, last week. And we've got people that will actually take off of work that come to these. These are important. So what we have are these 12 Democrats that are pro-Second Amendment that can stop this crazy legislation. And what I've done was, you got to pick a bill out. In veto session, you can't amend anything. So we picked out the fingerprinting. You asked about that. All 12 of them committed that they will not vote for anything that has fingerprinting in it. So that bill is not going to pass, but they're going to come up with something else as your call happened today. So these districts are in Rockford, Aurora, Joliet, Frankfort, Peoria, Champaign. We went out to Champaign, and these are all Democratic senators that are with us. It's not about a D or an R, it's about protecting what we have. We're not talking about social issues, we're not talking about all that other crazy stuff. We're talking about protecting what we have, so your kids and my grandkids and your grandkids can enjoy what we have now, because let's be honest, what's the old saying, once the camel's nose is under the tent, they're going to keep coming, and we have to stop everything. So one of the questions is, well, my legislator is pro-Second Amendment, you asking me to call, what do I do? Well, you make the call. You make the call and say thank you. Too many times we ask for things from legislators, and you don't want to take them for granted. Call them up and say, hey, thank you for being with me, and next, what can I do? What can I do to help you? Because they'll tell you. And we're under attack. I mean, I've been all over, and I tell this, I haven't drove hundreds of miles all summer. I've drove thousands of miles. I live in Elgin, right? Rockford is where I live. So I'm down here today to meet you. And I was quite a ways down there, and I've been to East St. Louis, and I've been to Champaign, and this was my summer. So I'm doing what I can. If everyone does a little, we'll get it done. We just got through the summer picnics, but the old thing is, they get your Kool-Aid or lemonade, and you got a bee floating around, and you swat it, and it goes away, and you go on. But nobody reached up and swatted that nest. And that's what they're doing right now. They're swatting the nest. And we've got to stay together. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for coming out, because this is important to you, because you showed up tonight. So I'm just one person. It's about 300 miles for me to get down here, but you guys showed up, so you have a good group. Thank you.
Bill and I started out, we had to have a new vehicle, and mine only had 360,000 plus miles on when I traded it in. So, but since March, at the end of March, I've driven, by the time I get back to Springfield night, I've driven 25,000 miles, and he's driven 23,000 miles. So we've been crisscrossing the state, looking out there every rock for a gun owner who will come out and help us.
Well, we appreciate you being here.
And I want to tell you something. These two wonderful ladies here need to be reelected. You can't be reelected by sitting around the coffee shop and griping. You have to get out, put up yard signs, work, make calls, tell your friends, do something like that, because we absolutely have to have them. Monica here can speak to the Speaker of the House. Senator Crowe can speak to the President of the Senate. We have to have those voices. You don't understand how important they are in politics. Because if I go see the Speaker, he'll tell me howdy. but Monica here can tell him more than that. And so, not that he's ever been nasty to me, I'll tell you that. So that's why it becomes important for your legislators to know who you are. Because if you don't do it that way, you lose in the end. So we got a long haul ahead of us, and there's a lot of hard work, and so that never stopped anybody in this room, but we can't let it stop us now.
I just want to add one thing. When we're talking about reaching out to Monica and I, you're not necessarily calling to convince us of anything, because we're already with you, but it's still important that you make the call. I've got a Wood River office and an office at the Capitol. Monica's got the Alton office and the office at the Capitol. Whenever any of this stuff's coming up, if you'll just call and say, I want to let the senator know I'm for this or I'm against it. And the reason is, there's a system in place where it's being logged. So I can go to the Senate President and say, I got 50 phone calls today, or I got 200 phone calls today. Because the thing is, when those bills come up, there are gonna be people on the other side of it, and they're all calling. You know, I like to be able to say where my numbers are falling for my district. So that's why it's important. One bill I wanted to tell you all to take a look at if you're educating yourself is actually a House Bill 3576. It came up at the end of session last time, and it was looked at as sort of a compromise. So that's one that you might want to familiarize yourselves with, because if we're not seeing that exact bill, we may be seeing something similar to it.
Right.
What's the number on that bill?
One of the things that we've been,
3576.
but it won't be that, it won't be that number.
But you can look at it now. You can look
You
at
look
that
at
number
the bill
now.
now, but it won't be that number. One of the things we've always, with the FOID card law, there's a lot of things wrong with it, but, like it shouldn't even be, but other than that, the state police need the ability to cancel a FOID card, not revoke it. Okay, what's that mean? Well, because if you get your FOID card revoked, when you move out of state, they have no choice but to revoke your FOID card. So when you come back into the state, we have a case like that today that we're working on. Actually, will come up next week, but we're working on it. A guy comes back into the state, because he just has to transfer here and there, you know, and now he can't get his FOID card because he had one revoked. Well, because there's no choice to that. So it needs to, there's two things we have to look at: cancellation, and the other one would be suspension. Because suppose we get into some kind of a crazy battle, like a red flag law thing, for example, and it turns out nothing happened. If they had the ability to suspend that FOID card, and you win your case, all they gotta do is go click, and it comes back on.
Right.
But now it's revoked, and
They
it's a
revoke it,
big
then
fat
yeah.
mess. You know.
So what happened, I understood there was some challenge to the FOID card of being unconstitutional.
Well, in the White County, a lady by the name of Vivian Brown, who was a cancer patient, I can't say she's a survivor, but she's a cancer patient, was being harassed and threatened by a significant other, ex-husband maybe, and somebody called and said she had the .22 rifle without a FOID card. And she had the .22, it's a .22 single-shot rifle, okay. Okay, not exactly a cannon. And so she had it beside her bed because she was afraid. So the cops come, county sheriff arrests her, charged her with not having a firearm without a FOID card. The White County judge said the FOID card is unconstitutional in the home. That case is now before the Illinois Supreme Court, and we are representing Vivian Brown. So,
Okay, so it's in the...
the limitations on all this stuff, though, is that the arguments that were made at the county court level get restrictive, so you can't expand on those when you get to the Supreme Court level. So when if we'd had this case from the beginning, it would look better than it does now. But there's a couple more cases out there that might deal with the FOID card too. And sooner or later, you know, one of the things that happened years ago, if having a $2 tax to vote is unconstitutional, what about having a $300 FOID card? What do you think that's going to do?
Right.
That's why we're preparing that.
And that's where I thought that was going, it was because...
Well,
And-
I'll tell you what, this stuff looks moved like molasses in January, okay? It's terrible. We started on the Wilson case in 2011, when the Chicago City Council actually did pass the bill, the ordinance, in the dark of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was never posted on any agenda. Say, well, that can't be legal. It's still legal, but it's just fine them $1,000, but who cares? You know? That's the only penalty for that. But anyway, but so we have to really work on these things. But we are out there, we're after them, and so we. Just so you know, we need all the members we can get. If you're not a member, there's applications out there. Please pick some up. We'd love to have you as a member. And we have a little over 27,000 members now, but we can use 50, 100, 250, or 2.3 million, which is the number of FOID card voters.
I mentioned the Illinois Legislative Sportsman's Caucus. Senator Crowe is also a member, and tell him what you're doing with your scholarship money. you remember, do you know?
Yeah. Monica and I work very closely together, so, we're trying to make sure we're always covering, you know, the largest amount of the district that we can. So we'll call each other and say, what do you want to do with yours? I'll do this with mine, so that make sure we're spreading things out. So my money will go to sportsman's clubs.
As a junior track.
The juniors, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Just so you know, we are involved in that too. We're the Rifle Association, you know, that's an old, you know, we were founded 116 years ago, so we've expanded a little. And so there are now 63 high school trap teams in the north.
Isn't that awesome?
So,
How many of those are in Chicago?
There are some.
there are some, actually.
There actually
So
are.
it just ruins their whole day. Darn it.
But on the bill that I sponsored, I had, it was unanimous, even my Chicago, even Kathy Wilson. Kathy Wilson? I don't know.
Lois.
Willis, and Willis, so that is,
Jamie,
those
I'm
calls
block.
won't go up. But she actually voted for it. She stood up and said, you know, I'm anti-gun, I'm voting for this bill, it's a good bill, so that made me feel good.
Exactly.
It's a good bill.
So Sportsman's Caucus comes up every April. We need your help.
Hell of a nice, event.
It is.
Yeah.
I haven't won anything.
I don't either.
So lastly, on behalf of Monica and I, we invite any of you to come to Springfield at any time. You know, it's certainly worth it for you to make the trip up and show your face and show what it is that you care about. So we'd love to see you there.
Some questions?
What's the status on putting cameras in places of business, those kinds?
It's under rules. If I want to talk about that?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the state police presented a bunch of rules, okay? And so they have received 2,000 comments on these rules. Now, the way rules work is they have to answer every one of these comments. It might not be too soon, but the other problem is that the expense of it, when it was drawn up, nobody had any idea, you know, what the requirements would be. But we have one shop that has, it's like in a strip mall, their camera system will cost them over $100,000. Okay, this might be 30 or something here, I don't know, but the point is that it becomes so expensive, it's so undoable. When gun dealer licensing was passed, which we fought tooth and toenail, there were 2,310 dealers in the state. Now there's 1,140. So they wiped out 52% of the dealers, and that was just on the first go around. So this is...
That seems to be the whole idea in this state.
Well, of course it is, but that's why we also have we filed a suit, the ISRA and some of our members have filed suit in the 7th District in Sangamon County trying to overturn the Gun Dealer Licensing Act. So, we're going to come after you. If you're an ISRA member, just so you know, we're going to take the money you give us, that $30 a year, and we're going to go after anybody that steps on our Second Amendment rights, and we're going to go after them hard. And we never forget, never, ever.
I got a question for both of you ladies, since you're both Democrats.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said I have a question for both of you ladies, since you're both Democrats. I'm a non-vet, still have problems with it, but do I have the right to tell people what I have been telling them? That I truly believe in 68, 69, I'd have served my country better had I stayed home and killed Democrats instead of Vietnamese. I feel that way.
Well, one of the things that you got to realize
It's not a laughing matter.
It's not a broad sweep. There's a few Republicans.
Do I have the right to say that? I want an answer. Do I have the right to say that?
Free speech, I guess you have that right.
You have the right.
That's scary.
I've asked several people, some police, even attorneys and judges.
And what do they say?
I do have the right.
You do.
I cannot act. I hunted one time after I got back. That was it. That was the last thing I ever killed. I don't want to hurt anything anymore. But I want you to know how disgusted I am with you guys. Is there anybody in this room agrees with me on that?
Well, if I could say the with you guys thing, okay? Monica and I are both local Democrats because we grew up here in union households. That is why I consider myself a local Democrat. I don't vote party line. Monica doesn't vote party line. I vote Southern Illinois. So, words like that are very discouraging, is what I would say to you. You know, we both work very hard to do what we find to be right, which is also why we're here tonight. So, I would just caution you of putting everybody in
the
one,
same boat.
in the same boat.
When did government start going for the party instead of the people? It's a shame it did. And that's why I said what I said.
After the Civil War.
You know, my wife,
That's why they wanna take our guns away from us.
my wife tried to renew her FOID card. August 1st, they cashed the check, so to speak. August 1st. Hasn't got it yet. Okay? When she tried to renew it online, she didn't remember her username
I
or
know.
her password.
Yeah.
And when she calls the number, it goes
Rings
through a
and
whole
rings
big
and rings.
spiel, and cuts her off.
Yep. No matter.
So
Hold for an hour.
there's no way you can get through that.
Did you get one of these forms?
I don't, I didn't know they were here.
Yeah, we
Okay.
talked about them, you probably came in a little bit later.
But no.
So this form has got instructions on what to do. Did she ever get hers?
She hasn't got it.
Okay.
The other thing I would say just in general is, anytime we get a phone call in our office saying, you know, whether it's your concealed carry or your FOID, I've been waiting and waiting, and what's happening with this thing, somebody in our office will make that call on your behalf too. You know, that's what we're here for, so feel free to reach out.
But it's, by statute, it's supposed to be 90 days, and it's taking, sometimes 120.
Mhm.
So I apologize for that. There was a gentleman back here that had his hand up first, if you don't mind.
I would like to recommend to everybody here tonight, if you can receive or listen to the Alton radio station, AM and FM. In the
WBGZ.
afternoon, 1 to 3 o'clock, Tom Gresham is on there with his show, Gun Talk.
Mhm.
And he will talk about politics and gun laws nationwide or local. There's also some technical stuff maybe I'm not interested in, but I would recommend everybody to tune that in, and I find a source of good information.
Thank you. WBGZ 1590.
And add on to that, guys, that's available online all the time.
Yeah.
There's actually 4 hours of that broadcast.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Between two of them.
Gentleman, the Cardinal hat.
I wanted to say the last time you were here, I filled one of those forms out, and within 2 weeks, I got my card.
Yay!
There you are.
Yes, sir.
I've been dealing with mine, renewed it today, but I tried to renew it 4 weeks ago, and they wouldn't renew it, but they sent me a replacement card in about 9 days. So, I'm hoping I've renewed, and with that, the next day I got the letter to renew it.
We actually went to Springfield and went in to State Police headquarters there and met with the gentleman, and he took the information before us, but it's still not here. I mean,
And that takes a lot of your time. I mean, you've got an hour and a half up and an hour and a half back.
How is a void card an existing license when you're not paying tax on the license or any, how is a void card an existing license when you are not to be taxed or licensed on any constitutional American rights?
I can answer that. We went to court over that, and it said $1 a year didn't matter.
It said what?
$1 a year didn't matter.
Really?
But $20 or $25 a year, or if this thing is coming at $50 a year, does matter. So if this passes, you know, I'm actually torn. You know, if this thing passes,
Legalized extortion.
You know,
It's strictly legalized extortion.
Just like
all insurance.
Legalized extortion is what it
You know, so I don't
is.
feel safe going in anywhere. You know, so you're gonna tell me I can't conceal carry in Walmart, Schnucks, any retail stores? It's getting to be unreal with all this.
Well, actually, Walmart never said that. They said you couldn't open carry.
Well, yeah.
That
Open
Walgreens
carry,
didn't say
yeah.
that, and there's a lot of this, they got misquoted, but they asked people not to open carry. That's what happened. And that's-
Yeah.
And so you get some guys that have to walk into a Walmart, Missouri with an AR slung over their back. That doesn't help. So you know that.
Ma'am in the back.
And the other thing is, if you can write a calm letter to the corporate office saying, I went to your store, and this is what I found. I will now not spend my money at your store. I will go to this other store. And that's the bottom line with it. Yes. Yes.
Well, I've read online and spoken to police officers, I've heard conflicting stories. Can you talk to the legality of a spouse that doesn't have a FOID, and I happen to have mine, I have guns in the house when I leave and the FOID gun on me? Any issue with them having?
If he's got a FOID card, his wife doesn't, he's got guns at home, he leaves the house, what's the deal?
The deal is, it actually comes from a drug law that can be construed to put anything else. It's called constructive possession. So if you leave, your wife has constructive possession of a firearm. We haven't had any problem in this part of the state, but there are other parts that has been a problem. If anybody in your house doesn't have a FOID card, I'd help out the state police to get it.
Do you live in Madison County? It's not an issue?
Yeah, it's not an issue.
And our apologies, Tom couldn't come, and you can, speak to that, but Tom would.
He would tell you it's not an issue in Madison County.
The problem is, it's not clear, so it has to be clarified. But the only way to really do that is to get a FOID card. The other thing, if you get a FOID card now, the way all these bills read, you'll have a FOID card for 10 years, even if they do pass these bills for $1 a year. So I go out and
Get it now.
Get it now. Yeah.
$10 today, and they charged me $1 for using a credit card. is what
Yeah.
it cost.
Well, that's,
Yeah, that used to be illegal, but now they do charge
Yeah.
you, service charge.
the only problem I've seen to run it into is, with acquiring a FOID card is the building I live in does not allow firearms in it at all. Because I live in Madison County provided housing. And,
Say that again.
He lives
I live-
in basically public housing. Not
yeah, I
really.
live in public housing.
Call us. We've won many cases against public housing.
Okay, now, I can understand now allowing to have the firearm on the property. But, yeah, we've got options like here, where you can rent a locker here from what I pick up and store it here. I don't have a problem with that idea.
Let me tell you where all that came from. That was a rule put on by George H.W. Bush when he was president in 1990. It's illegal. We have sued the East St. Louis Housing Authority 3 times, Monmouth Housing Authority, and a couple others around the state. We win every time. And if that ever becomes a problem for you, and you're an
Okay.
Illinois State Rifle Association, bring our chimes.
Okay.
We'll go after them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lived in Bethalto, Illinois. I called the police on an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old who pulled a pistol on me. The neighbor's kids got it out of the sock. Interracial family. One of the fathers his father was the son of the Grand Master Ku Klux of the Southern Illinois boy. And the other father was white Aryan race. Had a hell of a time with him.
I bet. Scott, you